OK, we've got a question now from our live blog. Josh writes on the live blog. We love the live blog. Thank you for contributing. What policies would the majors be willing to trade to govern in minority?
Oh, you're looking at me.
I am. I'm totally. I am definitely not going to form government, so I'm definitely looking
I was looking at the audience.
Yeah, well, they are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, they are lovely. None. The Prime Minister's been very clear. We're determined to win a majority government, and he's made clear that there's no deals.
But if you don't, you would have to compromise, wouldn't you? I mean, that's inevitable.
Well, we've worked across the parliament. We've worked with the Liberals, the Nationals, the Greens, the minor parties, the Teals at different times to pass legislation that we will always deal with the parliament that the Australian people elect. And what we're hoping is that we get a majority in the House of Representatives and enough votes in the Senate that we don't have to be finding these very difficult compromises on the environment.
Given, Paul Fletcher, you said at the beginning that you think that the Liberals can win the election. If you fall short but, you need a couple of seats, it means you also, the same question from the blog applies to you. What would you trade on?
Well, look, our message to the Australian people is that majority government is a good thing.
Yeah.
We have had majority government in Australia since World War II with one exception.
Sure, but that would be 19 seats for you.
2010 to 2013, which was a chaotic disaster. The 2010 to 2013 period of minority government was a chaotic disaster. And Australians, we would argue, need to remember that. And our system for a long time has relied upon one party being in a majority, and that has delivered better outcomes.
Peter Dutton himself, I've heard him, has talked about governing potentially in a minority parliament. I mean, he has conceded this, hasn't he?
Well, what we're fighting to do is to win in majority. Of course, if we had the chance, if we don't get a majority, but we had the chance to form minority government, of course we would be open to that. It would depend upon all the circumstances, what the numbers were, and it would be a call for our leader at the time.
Adam?
Well, we've been really clear that in what I think is going to be minority parliament, we wouldn't support Peter Dutton. We'll keep Peter Dutton out. But the things that we'd put on the table for Labor, I mean, you can look at what we did last time. We got dental into Medicare for kids. We've got $13 billion for clean renewable energy. We got action on climate change. I think getting now dental into Medicare for everyone, making childcare free, tackling the housing crisis, stopping native forest logging, one of the things that we were trying to negotiate with the current government, and stopping new coal and gas projects. These are all things that would actually make people's lives better in this country. And I think there's this growing frustration that we're seeing this battle of the Band-Aids this election. Instead of tackling the big issues that we're facing, like it's just $100 here or $100 there. Maybe it comes in a year, maybe it only lasts for a year. Where's the serious, lasting reforms that will make people's lives better, that will make us a more equal country by making it so that you don't have to fork out when you want to go and see the dentist? All of these things are within reach, right? And I guess it's taking third voices to put them on the table.
OK, I just want to bring in our other panellists just very briefly before I get to the next question on minority.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard Paul Fletcher's, and Labor too wants a majority. These guys don't look like they want a minority government.
No, well, I think that's understandable.
But yes, it may be because people want to govern. But do they need to be realistic? Because a third of Australian voters are demonstrating another interest.
Yeah, well, that
you have to respond to the voters' needs.
The Australian electorate, I mean, Adam's right, and we're probably not going to agree on a huge amount, but I'll agree on the fact that Australians are starting to fall out of love with the major parties. You know, the last election, I think it was something like 60% or so voted for a major party. The rest of the electorate was voting for a minor party and independent. I think, though, that majority governments are good for this country. I think that they give the people accountability. Whoever is elected, if it's a Labor government, a Liberal government, if they get a majority, they are accountable to the electorate and they have to defend at the next election whether they delivered or not.
So you would prefer Labor to win a majority on Saturday?
I would prefer a majority government in this country.
So even if Labor were to win, you want them to win a majority?
I think it is horse trading And we've seen, as Paul said, between 2010 and 2013, unstable government, lack of mandate. It's a whole lot of sort of pork barrel bits and piece politics. It's not good for this nation. If we want long-term decent policies, it's incumbent on the two majors to start thinking big, to start thinking bold. And I think one of the reasons why 40% of the Australian public are falling out of love with the majors is we haven't had that bold, clear vision for Australia. And I am yearning for that.
Can I just jump in?
I think it's Peter's turn and then I'll let you have a go.
But if you just look at two big reforms that have been delivered by Labor, capital gains tax and the other changes of the 80s, or the GST by the Coalition in the 90s, both depended upon a government that was in majority to deal with the political pushback you get on any significant reform.
That's an interesting point.
Well, we're talking federal level, but there have been plenty of experiences in Australia with minority governments. Every state in the Commonwealth has had a minority government in recent years, every one of them. Maybe that's why people are warming more to the idea of voting for independence and small parties, because they can see the sky doesn't fall. And the major parties, of course, to form government would do whatever deal they had to do. You might remember Tony Abbott rang up Tony Windsor when he was trying to form a minority government.
He rang me.
He rang you?
He rang me.
Well,
he said, "Hi, Adam. It's Tony Abbott here. I've always considered myself a bit of an environmentalist. I think we should talk." But the conversation didn't last very long because we made it clear
Adam,
where we were going to go.
Have you told this story before?
I have.
Where?
Yeah, in smaller circles.
Where? Wait, have you told this story on television before?
This might be the first time.
Scoop! Wait. Tony Abbott called you genuinely to court your vote.
Correct.
Yours.
And it was a very short conversation because he was anathema to the things that we were standing for, and Peter Dutton would get the same response this time. But like this,
wow.
Of course, I think that everyone says that they're not going to talk, but I would be astounded if they refuse to respect the parliament that the Australian people select. And the flip side of that is that we've all got to give a bit. Right? OK, we might not get everything we want. And the changes, yes, we accept that some of the changes that we're pushing for are big changes and they might not happen overnight, but nothing changes if nothing changes, right? And we just can't keep voting for the same two parties and expecting a different result.
Well,
and I think that's
Adam,
what people are saying.
Maybe you could have driven a harder bargain, because you might remember famously Tony Windsor said when Abbott rang me up to form government, he said, "Mate, you can have anything you want except my arse, and maybe even that."
Wow, I'm just looking forward to the next week.